Hey everybody. Today I'm going to tell you a story about a life-changing experience I had involving the Floral clock at Kings Island. There's probably been lots of life-changing experiences happen at Kings Island Amusement Park. Probably not very many involving a giant clock covered in flowers. But one sure did happen to me. So before I get into the story, make sure if you are enjoying these videos, you get something out of it, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. You can click the notification bell so that you get notified when I make new videos. And so maybe hopefully you've heard of Kings Island. It's an amusement park. It's part of the Cedar Fair chain. And my family and I have been going to it our whole lives. It first opened in 1972. And my parents used to bring us down. We lived in Bay City, Michigan. And my parents would drive 6 hours to Kings Island. I asked my mom, how'd you even hear about Kings Island? Right, this has been way before the internet. And they weren't advertising up in, central Michigan about, Kings Island. But my mom said she saw an ad in a magazine for Sherwin-Williams paint. And they were bragging that they were the official paint of the Eiffel Tower at the new Kings Island Amusement Park in Mason, Ohio. So my parents loaded us up in a station wagon and off we went to Kings Island. And just, like looking on an atlas for Mason, Ohio, and drove up and like, wow. And so we went, I think probably every other year, all time growing up. And my dad would drag his camera around and take amazing pictures. And so many fun memories there at Kings Island, riding, classic rides like King Cobra, the stand-up coaster, and Screamin' Demon. And we were there when they opened the Beast, and then Son of Beast. Fast forward, as you may know, we live right by Kings Island now. We still go all the time. My son Logan works there as a ride operator and loves it. It's been a really big part of our life. But one of the events that happened there that was really interesting to me involved the clock. Right? That one summer when I was probably 8th grade, maybe 9th grade, we were all going to Kings Island with our family. And there was 2 teachers at our school that my parents had become friends with. My mom worked at our school. She was the head cook in the cafeteria. And she'd become friends with, these teachers. And they were the Metcalfs. And if you've seen my video talking about the definition of an epic, Mr. Metcalf was the one who made us memorize that an epic is a long narrative poem telling of the heroic deeds of a man of high station who's of particular significance to his people. Watch that video and it'll make sense to you. But his wife, Mrs. Metcalf, she taught at the high school level all the advanced math classes, and she also taught German. Super, super smart, right? And she's teaching, algebra 2 and trigonometry and all that stuff. And so a little intimidated, Mr. Metcalf taught like English. Like I can hang with English, but math, oh wow. And and so my parents said they had said that they love roller coasters. My parents said, hey, we're going to Kings Island, you should come with us. And so like, oh, you're bringing our teachers to Kings Island with us. Yeah. And but they were actually pretty cool. And we get to Kings Island, and in fact, I have a picture. Here's me and my brothers. That's me in the awesome Dallas Cowboy shirt. We all had our hats on from Sterling Heights softball that we all played in our little community we were living in at the time, outside of Detroit. So the Metcalfs came with us on that trip. And, I used to get really intimidated around teachers because I didn't consider myself to be very smart. I did okay in school, not that great. Growing up, my older brother, Scott, was well known in our family as being the smart one in our family. And he was smart. Always has been, like super smart. He's gone on to be a high school math teacher himself. And he was the smart one. Darren, the next oldest brother, he was the athletic one. And so I was kind of always intimidated in sports that I'm not going to do as well as Darren. And people ask, well, what were you? Sadly, I was the sloppy one. So my parents used to talk about, oh, Scott's the smart one, Darren's the athletic one, Jeff's the sloppy one. And you know what? I lived up to that reputation. I never cleaned my room. I'm the sloppy one. And, but no one ever called me the smart one. And so when it came to school, I just didn't really try that hard, right? Because and in sports, I didn't try that hard. I'm not the athletic one. I'm not the smart one. I'm just me. and lots of doubts and fears and inadequacies like every other kid in the world at that age. And so we're at Kings Island, we're hanging out with our teachers and our family, and we were sitting by, waiting for the fireworks to go off at night. And Kings Island does this nightly fireworks show, and we would sit between the Eiffel Tower and the Floral clock, right? There was a little, I know what you call it, little bench area, and we would all sit there to watch the fireworks. And so, but we're sitting there before the fireworks started, watching the clock. And it had, these big steel hands on it, second hand and a minute hand, and an hour hand. But the second hand was like whoosh, going around because it was like 8 feet long. And one of my brothers said, man, that looks like it's going way faster than like a second hand on your watch. That's going too fast. That's not moving at the speed of seconds. It's going faster than that. And I said, well, yes and no. It depends on how you measure speed. If you're measuring, feet per second, which is one way to measure speed, well then, yeah, it's traveling more feet per second than the second hand on your watch is. It is going faster if you're measuring how much space the end of that second hand covers as it goes around. But if you're using RPM, revolutions per minute, to measure speed, well, then it's exactly the same speed. It's 1 RPM. It goes around that giant clock 1 time every minute, just like the second hand on your watch. It goes around 1 time every minute. So I just shared my thoughts on the subject. And Mrs. Metcalf, right, the super smart math teacher, she looks over at me, and I look, and she's looking at me, and she said, you're a really smart kid. That's all she said. I said, thanks. And you know what? No one had ever called me a smart kid before. That really, really affected me. And we're driving home, and I'm like, Mrs. Metcalf thinks I'm a smart kid. And you know what? Those words of affirmation got down inside of my spirit, and I started looking at myself for the first time. I'm not a genius, but I'm smart. I know how to analyze things. I know how to think about situations. Come to find out, I'm really smart when it comes to dealing with people. Maybe not, although I did taking advanced math classes in high school. I did fine. Graduated near the top of my class. I was never an academic all-star because I was way more focused on sports. But you know what I realized? That, hey, just like everyone misjudged me that I'm not the smart one in the family, maybe I quit judging myself that I'm not the athletic one. Darren was always a better athlete than I was, but I exhibited, at least in high school, better leadership skills on the athletic fields. And so even though he was the better athlete, I was the captain of the sports teams, and I won some all-conference, awards that were more kind of based on my leadership skills on the field, more so than just pure athleticism. And so the whole rest of my life, right, my self-image, my view of myself really kind of grew and grew because of one sentence that somebody I respected said to me when I was a kid. Right now, subsequently, I've come to find out that, as I've grown closer in my relationship with God, that a self-image isn't nearly as powerful as seeing yourself the way that God sees you, right? I'm trying to have now like a God image of myself, but that's a whole different topic. And so, hey, the moral of the story is all of us are around other people all the time. We're around kids, maybe your kids, your grandkids, maybe you are a kid watching this. And I'm telling you, the power of words, of encouraging, uplifting words. Telling someone how good they are, how smart they are, how special they are. It's powerful. It changed the whole course of my life. It's entirely possible that I would never have had the confidence to get up in front of audiences and do the speaking and training that I do if Mrs. Metcalf hadn't said back when I was an 8th grader, you're a really smart kid. And so I don't know if the Metcalfs are ever going to see this, but you really made an impact in my life, made a big difference. And I really, really appreciate it. My advice to everybody is, be that encourager for the people in your life. Be the good finder. Be the one who uplifts and praises other people. Be the one who looks for the good. You know, most people do. They tear down everyone else around them to try to make themselves feel better. It doesn't work, right? Because deep down in your core, you know, if you do that, you're a douche, right? Like you're not a good person if you do that. And so that's why it doesn't work. But if you're willing to look for the good in others and uplift them and encourage them and compliment them, I really think you can change the world. I think it's probably one of the best things you could be doing with your time and energy if you want the world to be a better place. So there you go. Next time you're at Kings Island, some of you probably go to Kings Island a lot like we do. When you walk by the Floral clock, right, look at somebody and give them a compliment near you, right? It's a perfect place to do it. Have a great day. Catch you next time.